Hi, I'm Dr. Peter Coleman. I'm a retired physician and addiction medicine specialist. Today we're going to be talking about the brain because understanding how this works will help you understand what's happened and how people get into addiction, but also help you understand how to get out of it and how to get complete freedom. When I was in medical school, we learned an awful lot about the brain. We learned how amazing it is and how it can help people create symphonies and land men on the moon, and which parts of the brain, do coordination and move your fingers. But they didn't teach us anything about why I love drugs so much. And they didn't teach anything about why so many patients would want to stop using and try to stop using, but still end up going back to using. Fortunately, we know an awful lot about that at this point, so I'm going to be talking a little bit about that. The brain is basically an electrical system, has electrical system like your house. And at the heart of that are neurons or nerve fibers. And so nerve fibers are basically cells, and they have a very long wire, just like an electrical cable, and signals go along there at 250 miles an hour. It's unbelievable, which is really helpful if you stand on a nail because you want the message to get very quickly so that you don't keep standing on the nail and you pull your foot back. The nerves connect to the other nerves with what we call a synapse, and that's kind of like a little gap in between the nerves, and it's like a river crossing. So the message comes to one end of the nerve, and then it has to cross across that. And the way it crosses across that is with what we call neurotransmitters. So there are little chemicals that sit in little sacs, what we call vesicles, on one end of the nerve, and then they cross to the other side, and then they attach to what's called a receptor. So a receptor is like a key fitting in a lock that then turns that receptor on. And all this happens at lightning speed, so that again, if you stand on a nail, that's had to go across 2 or 3 synapses to get up to your brain, and that happens so quickly, it's unbelievable. So there are lots of different neurotransmitters, probably 100 of them. The ones that are most important in addiction are dopamine and endorphins. So we'll talk about those in future videos. But dopamine is basically the pleasure molecule that is found in the reward center of the brain, and endorphins are your natural morphine that heroin and all the other opioids mimic and act just like. And so when you think about these neurotransmitters, they cross across the river and attach to the receptor on the other side, like a key fitting into a lock. And each neurotransmitter basically goes into one type of lock. They're very specific. It turns out that opioids go into the endorphin receptor, and they turn that switch on. Unfortunately, they turn it on way stronger than it was ever meant to get, and so then they have very strong effects. And of course, the strong effect they have in the reward center is a dopamine spike, and that's what people love so much, and that's what they keep coming back to. So we'll be talking more about dopamine spikes. The other thing to learn about receptors is that some drugs turn the receptor on fully, and we call that an agonist. So heroin, fentanyl, oxycodone, all the main opioids are complete agonists. But there are also drugs called antagonists or blocking drugs. So these are like a rusty key. So they go across that gap, the synapse. They attach to the endorphin receptor, but they don't turn it on at all. They're a blocking drug. And so they're very helpful. Narcan, naloxone, is the most commonly used one, and that's what people get given to wake them up from an opioid overdose. And it works incredibly quickly. So within half a minute, the people are back breathing again. Naltrexone is the other long-acting narcotic antagonist, the blocking drug, and we use that all the time in treatment in order to help people decrease their cravings and stay away from opioids. The other thing to know about nerves and this whole way the thing works is that nerve pathways become stronger and stronger the more you use them. So in a healthy way, if we want to learn to ride the bicycle or play the violin or something like that, we practice, and we develop these strong nerve pathways. Unfortunately, part of the addiction process is an unhealthy pathway. So when you start doing drugs or you hang out with people who are doing them and you do some of the behaviors that are associated with that, those unhealthy pathways, those negative pathways get built up stronger and stronger and stronger. And that's part of the way that the disease of addiction injures the brain. It develops these very strong pathways that take time to go away. A little bit like a path in the woods, where the more people walk on it, the stronger that goes. But just like that path in the woods, if people don't use that path anymore, the path kind of goes away, and after a while it becomes an insignificant thing. And that's a big part of what recovery is all about, is stopping doing those same behaviors so that you can then let the brain go back to normal and stop having those strong pathways.